It's back to school time. This year, Sport Clips Haircuts will send you back in style with the prize package sure to send you straight to the head of the class. Visit sportclips.com/back-to-school for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. Ends August 25th, 2017. Must be 18 or older. Subject to official rules at sportclips.com. Void where prohibited.
This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
I'm Clinton Yates, filling in here on the Dan Le Batard Show on a Wednesday. I want to pardon my voice, first of all. I've been talking a lot in the last couple weeks. I was doing, last week I filled in for Bomani Jones. The week before that, I did Mike and Mike for a couple days up in Bristol. And so I've been doing a lot of traveling. So the voice sometimes takes its toll, but I sound okay now. Let's get to the music. We got a Woj, well, I'll call it a Woj firecracker. It's not quite a Woj bomb, but it is of relative potency. Basically, Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that it is now on record as true that the Cavaliers are going forward in their plans, assuming LeBron's not going to be there. Now, that fact alone, I find an interesting one because I don't know that if I weren't a Cavs fan, I would not be, frankly, I don't want to say ready for LeBron James to go. But I certainly wouldn't be mad at the team or at LeBron James for the situation they're currently in. You got the ring. After that, I almost feel like everything else is just sort of gravy. Like getting that monkey off your back, if you will, was the biggest accomplishment anybody in their lifetimes in Cleveland is going to see. So for LeBron James to decide, you know what? I'm moving on, and I don't have to tell the Cavaliers anything in terms of our long-term plans. I wouldn't have an issue with that. He doesn't owe them anything. They don't owe him anything at this point. He's made it clear that how he wants to go about in his career is by quick contracts to maximize his dollars and bet on himself. It only makes sense for the Cavs to assume that he won't be there. And if I wanted to stretch it and reach a little bit, y'all love to accuse me of reaching. If I wanted to reach a little bit, there's an argument that you could reach for that says, well, they're not beating the Warriors anyway. So it might just be time to move on. I don't think it's that far yet. But if we see a decline this year, not that we ever really see LeBron James declines, I could understand why you don't want to lock up a bunch of cash in General LeBron, as I like to call him. Kyrie Irving's requested a trade. He's a young man. He wants out of there. At this point, you have to make a decision to move on, assuming LeBron's not there. That's only the smart thing to do, logically. Don't get it twisted. I'm not implying that Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert operates in a smart and logical manner at all times. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying in this particular case, it makes sense. And so they're focused on what they can get for Kyrie. Woj says, of course, the Cavaliers prefer to re-sign James to a long-term deal and chase titles together in his twilight, but the Cavs are treating his unwillingness to commit as a call to protect themselves long-term in the Irving trade, league sources say. Sure, you got to do that. This, to me, is not like some huge revelation. I'm not knocking the reporting here at all. I mean, this is obviously critical from Woj, but I'm just saying, like, as a fan, I think you go into this offseason, or you're at this point in the offseason, you've got to think the Cavs are smart enough to realize that James is on the way out. I wonder how Cavaliers fans feel about that, though. Like, are you mad that James is leaving again, even though he hasn't said as much? I wouldn't be, personally. Because, like I said, seeing a championship in that town was something that you never planned on happening in your life. I know mad people from Cleveland. It was a serious cultural identifier. They made a 30 for 30 about it, that they had to change. It was how people defined themselves in their lives, like this self-fulfilling prophecy. LeBron ended that, changing everything. So at this point, there's nothing to be upset about. The question is, what are the Cavs actually going to do? They're eyeballing some people. They're looking at young players, and they're not looking small either. If they're trading Kyrie Irving, they're looking for basically the best young player you've got on another team. Woj says that they're fixated on Kristaps Porzingis, obviously, of the Knicks. Jason Tatum from Boston. Phoenix's Josh Jackson and Denver's Jamal Murray. Personally, I think if you're going to trade a star on the level of Kyrie Irving's power, if you will, Kristaps is a great option. There's issues there in New York with Joakim Noah, whom Mike Ryan calls a waterlogged body in the NBA.
Waterlogged corpse.
Well, he's alive, so we're going to go ahead and stay accurate on that one.
Nah.
He is with us, as far as I know. I missed that update. Maybe that'll be in the SportsCenter update later in the show. But, I think that's. I just think this is smart, and I don't know why. If you're the Cavaliers, you don't just say straight up to LeBron, well, let us know. Because, sure, you might not have a lot of power in the situation, but you could at least indicate, hey, it's not that we don't need you, and it's not that we don't want you, but don't let the door hit you on the way out. Let's hear what Woj had to say about LeBron James and his future with the Cavaliers.
Without LeBron's commitment, their focus is getting the best young player or players that they can get to prepare for a post-LeBron era in Cleveland. So his uncertainty or his reluctance so far to commit, is really shaping how the Cavs are pursuing the Kyrie Irving trade market.
There's a part of me, the root for anarchy sports fan part of me, that wants the Cavs to come out and straight up say, we don't want LeBron James on our team anymore after his contract's done. Just go full opposite the decision. Just say, nice to know you, LeBron. Have fun in L.A. And pull a full PR campaign sending him out of town that he doesn't even know about. How hilarious would that be? If they took a public stance and said, oh, no, sorry, LeBron, thanks, got our ring. Have a go in L.A. You didn't want to commit, you can bounce right now. That would make me laugh. But they can't do that. Let's hear what Bomani Jones had to say about this power dynamic between the Cavs and LeBron James.
Has any threat ever been more empty than the Cavs saying, we gonna make trades for the future if you don't give us an answer, LeBron? Probably looking at them like, fine then, don't. What are you talking about? Right? There's no way in the world that LeBron is buying that one. None whatsoever. Like, to me, this doesn't even sound to me truly like it is the Cavs and Kyrie and LeBron making moves. One, there is no move that Kyrie is able to make. Kyrie doesn't have it in him to make a move. He's the guy with 2 years left on his contract. He's the dude that doesn't have anywhere to go, right? No. Kyrie, all he can do is just sit around and wait for the trade to wind up happening. Now, the Cavaliers are in an interesting place when it comes to trying to figure out what to do with trades because there is a future that they have to prepare for without LeBron James. See, here's the thing that LeBron has going for him that gives him an uncommon level of power, especially within this situation. Kyrie is out here like, man, I sure hope they trade me to a situation that's good. The Cavs are like, well, we sure would like to be a contender, even if LeBron's gone. LeBron's like, I am the walking definition of contention. I show up, it's a contender. You drop LeBron off, put him on the New Orleans Pelicans. It's a contender. You take LeBron, drop him off in the French Quarter. It's a contender. Take LeBron off the Cavs. It's Cleveland.
Has there ever been such a thing as an unwilling farewell tour? Remember when Paul Pierce took his farewell tour with the Clippers? He got into that little imbroglio with, I can't remember who it was. He said, man, you ain't Kobe. We ain't worried about that. What if the Cavs just straight up said, no, it's cool, LeBron. We're just going to start having random events at the arena celebrating your departure. This would make me laugh by quite a bit.
I guess the closest thing is maybe A-Rod's farewell, where the Yankees just sort of decided, oh, your farewell is this weekend. Enjoy.
That's true. That's a good point. And listen, would it be completely ungrateful? Would it look ridiculous and petty? Of course it would. But do we think that Dan Gilbert's above that? Him and his Comic Sans press releases? No. For sheer publicity value, it would be hilarious for them to send him out on a boat that he didn't even want to be on. Let's hear what Woj had to say about what they're willing to do, that being the Cavaliers, with Kyrie Irving.
Boston is an intriguing target for Cleveland. They are not afraid to do a deal with the Celtics, even though they're conference rivals, and they'll be competing with them for the Eastern Championship this year, because Boston has overwhelmingly the best possible package of picks, of players, especially young ones. And as I reported in the piece, Jason Tatum, who the Celtics drafted out of Duke this year, is a player that really intrigues Cleveland. But right now, there's been no real discussion between those two teams about Tatum.
Top picks in cap space. If Danny Ainge manages to land Kyrie Irving after all of that nonsense in the offseason and draft day and this and that and the third, I will completely eat my words about his skills as a GM. I probably spent 2 weeks before the draft arguing with Boston fans about whether or not top picks and cap space was actually going to turn into anything. But if Kyrie Irving ends up being the last piece of that puzzle that comes out of this, I'll give Ainge's credit as an accidental genius. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I'm slowly but surely talking myself into the idea of the Cavs simply telling LeBron, thanks but no thanks, just for the sake of doing it. That would make me laugh.
Hey, buddy, the wait is over. It's the 2017 Suey Awards, starting August 21st. The Suey Awards.
Don Le Batard.
America is addicted to its technology, and it's really unhealthy.
I keep having this discussion with my wife because she is on that phone nonstop. And what I have asked for our family to do moving forward is let's figure out a time where all of us put our phones away and none of us use them till the next morning.
Stugotz.
Yeah, but nobody wants to be with you.
That just dawned on me. Thanks, Dan.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Catch Stugotz and Mike Golic Jr. every Sunday for weekend observations from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. There's a show after that I host. You know the name of it, Mike Ryan?
Morning Roast.
Thank you. With me in the comments, Dominic Foxworth. It's a fun show. Talking about LeBron James and the Cavaliers. Last segment. Gonna have to read some tweets, of course. You know, all my fans, they love to bless me with, opposite day type stuff. At Le Batard Show. Got Clinton Yates hosting again. GIF of Hannibal Buress that just says whack. I'm not even going to comment on what I feel about white folks using black people in GIFs. That's a whole other thing. But we'll get to that. At Le Batard Show. Cavs should trade LeBron for whatever he is. For whatever, if he is leaving anyway and keep Kyrie. That doesn't really make a lot of sense.
He's got a trade clause.
Yeah, not mad at all. He got us a title. Hope he stays, but we'll applaud him either way, particularly with his social stances as of late. At Le Batard Show. Hey, Mike Ryan. Get Clinton Yates some water. Hashtag lip smacker.
You did smack some lips in that first first segment.
Smacking lips is kind of what I do for a living. Hashtag, at Clinton Yates. I'm so with you on that one. They know he's out. Just be bold. That's probably true. Like I said, I like that. And yeah, at Clinton Yates, Kyrie in the Windy City would be a nice fit for me. At Chicago Bulls, that's not going to happen either. But one person did just bring up LeBron James' social stances. And look, some people hit me up all the time like, oh, race baiter, you want to make everything a race story, race talk, my mentions going crazy. And I don't want to get too far into this, but this is the time we live in, folks. I can't help it if athletes are making social stances. We got to talk about something. It's the middle of August, kiddos. And if people who play the sports that we watch are going to be making comments about things outside of the field, we're going to have to talk about it. That's simply the way it goes. Not because I'm interested in educating you all on the concepts of structural racism and sexism and so forth every single day of the week. I would rather not have to do that. But because this is the world we live in, sometimes I do. That aside, LeBron James was speaking at a charity event, and he had quite a few things to say about what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia over the weekend.
I have this platform, and I'm somebody that has a voice of command, and the only way for us to be able to get better as a society and us to get better as people is is love. And that's the only way we're going to be able to conquer something at the end of the day. It's not about the guy that's the so-called president of the United States or whatever the case. It's not about a teacher that you don't feel like care about what's going on with you every day. It's not about people that you just don't feel like that's want to give the best energy and effort to you. It's about us. It's about us looking in the mirror. Kids all the way up to the adults, about all of us looking in the mirror and saying, what can we do better to help change?
That's a semi-weak sauce generalized take, but he definitely took a shot at the president there. Let's be clear about that. And I'm not saying that, LeBron needed to go any further with it. I get what he's saying. That love is going to heal thing, I find it to be a little milquetoast personally, because I don't really believe that's true. Turn on your television. You can tell it's going to take a little bit more than love to heal things. But I appreciate that he said it. And LeBron James is the guy whose social stances I've always appreciated. He's done very well with that. For a guy of his position, for a guy of his fame, he's been remarkably responsible as well as effective with the way that he's communicated. I was at that ESPYs in which him, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, and Chris Paul stood on stage and delivered the speech that they did in front of America. It was powerful, I thought. And I've said this before. It's not about changing the minds of sort of every single person right then and there. But I think his point about children is right. If you're a kid, 12-year-old Timmy in Idaho, and let's just say you've got that racist dad or uncle or cousin or whatever, and you're a huge LeBron James fan, the next time he says something crazy, the kid pops off and says, hey, we don't do that anymore. And that's where it happens. And that's where I think LeBron is coming from. Kids like LeBron. And if he can influence that generation, he's doing the right thing. Love is love, of course. But love ain't going to change what these wild adults are doing. Getting back to Charlottesville, though. Home of, obviously, the University of Virginia Cavaliers. They got a football team there. Bronco Mendenhall's the coach. You might remember that he lived in an RV the first year he was there. Something drove it across country from BYU. That was a fun little story, by the way. Can you imagine living in an RV with Bronco Mendenhall? Or living in an RV with anybody named Bronco, for that matter? Football teams had some issues. They had to cancel an event that first weekend because of everything that was happening there. And this is becoming a real story, quite obviously, on campus. I don't know if you've ever been to UVA. Might remind you that it was started by Thomas Jefferson, founding father, and slave owner. Just so you know. Very interesting vibe on campus there. So this is going to be something they're dealing with all season, whether they like it or not. Here's what the head coach of the Virginia Cavaliers had to say on the team's belief in diversity.
Our message is one of consistency, unity, embracing diversity, and being together and respecting one another for differences, not separating because of differences.
Okay, good start. Starting with the bringing everybody together, moving along on the boilerplate, swimming nicely. He also said the team stands together to embrace their differences.
They stand together, and they stand united, embracing, in Micah Kaiser's words, the differences, and respecting the differences and valuing the differences.
We got to remember the Titan situation here, Mike Ryan. I like it. It's coming together. Virginia might make a run. I couldn't name one single player on their team. I have not looked at their schedule, but they're coming together in camp. My man Denzel Washington might be the coach. Hayden Panettiere is calling up the plays from the living room. He also talked about Bronco Mendenhall, that is, the impact of the riots on the football fans.
I was expecting more concern, but most of them are realizing that this is happening predominantly from people coming into our city and then leaving that won't necessarily be their neighbors and won't necessarily be their fans. I've had no recruits that have said, I'm no longer coming. I've had no parent that said I'm no longer coming. All we've had is appreciation for what we're doing.
He's done pretty well with this. There is no playbook for, white nationalist rally sparks violence on campus, leading to cancellation of a meet and greet. Zero. That's not something that you think about in the offseason when you're drawing up practice plans. So I'll give a lot of credit to Bronco Mendenhall here. If this is something they got to use to galvanize their team, if this ends up making them come together as human beings, forget about anything that happens between the lines, that'll be a good experience. They were garbage last year. A relatively prominent sportscaster tweeted, I would like to see more of my media colleagues tweet about college football, which tends to be a uniting experience, rather than their political takes, because that gets boring. And I replied, why don't you tell that to the UVA football team? And to give you an idea of how crass people feel about that squad and how bad they were last year, a lot of people replied, well, too bad we don't have a football team anymore. That's how awful they were. Well, they're going to be one of the most scrutinized football teams in America this year. So let's hope they can figure out a way to improve on that record last year. Because folks are going to be watching, if for no other reason than what happened last weekend. Good for UVA. I'm rooting for them. That football team didn't have anything to do with that. Now they've had a whole heap of problems put right on top of them, and I hope they're all better off for it. Like I said, forget about the football team as men going forward in the world. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan Le Batard. You listen to ESPN Radio.
Dan Le Batard.
I'm telling you, we are good here. Trust me. I've never let you down.
Stugotz.
It's like living a life. Imagine living your life, and every time you take a step, you know you might step on a landmine. That's my life. I'm married to a minefield. And he doesn't know that he's a minefield. It's just like, trust me, Dan, we got this, while cleaning the chocolate out of his teeth with his tongue.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. And now for your Sports Center update. The NFL Players Association has announced that it will appeal the 6-game suspension for Dallas Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott. We'll discuss that later in this segment. Moving to the Diamond, Detroit Tigers second baseman Ian Kinsler unloaded a series of grievances against Angel Hernandez on Tuesday, one day after the veteran umpire ejected him for arguing balls and strikes, saying, I'm surprised at how bad an umpire he is. I don't know how, for as many years as he's been in the league, that he can be that bad. He needs to reevaluate his career choice. He really does. Bottom line, if I get fined for saying the truth, and so be it, he's messing with baseball games blatantly. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. Dallas Cowboys are such a fascinating team to me at this point. You got Ezekiel Elliott, who has a huge reputation problem, for lack of a better term, at the very least. Never mind, could potentially be a scumbag. We don't know that. But I know that I don't necessarily know that I would be rooting for that guy if I was a fan of that team. And we've got Dak. And the story of these two dudes is so incredibly polarly opposite. There's something to me that intrigues me so much about them being such important parts of that team. We all know the Dak story. His relationship with his mother, motivating him the way it did when he was at Texas A&M, coming into the league, being the darling of the league, starting and taking over basically one of the biggest jobs in football. The starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is an extremely visible position. But now he's in a little bit of a tough spot. He's got to lead the team, doesn't have his same back. He's still got the offensive line. But he's really got to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. Now, look, I don't personally think that flukes are really anything in the NFL. But I am far more interested in Dak Prescott's story this season than I am in Zeke Elliott's, from a human interest standpoint. Let's hear what Dak had to say about the current situation in the backfield as a result of Zeke's potential suspension.
We've got great running backs. Darren McFadden, Alfred Morris, those guys who have had a lot of success in this league for a long time. So it's just an opportunity for them to come in and get more reps in that time off.
Ooh. Flat soda right there, Mike Ryan.
Flat soda.
I mean, that was nothing.
I mean, he's got this quarterback thing down.
His quotes are super, super flat. I kind of like that. Let's hear what he said about Zeke bringing to the Cowboys offense.
Obviously, just his ability to run the ball and making the defense load the box, giving us one-on-ones outside. And not only that, just keeping our defense off the field and keeping their defense on the field for a long time. But, that's not just Zeke. That's the offensive line. That's the receivers blocking. We still have all those guys in this time off.
He can't say, man, I wish this fool would get it together. He can't say, man, he's really tanking the squad with this nonsense. He's just got to say, yeah, he runs the ball well, keeps the team off the field, but we got other dudes that can do that too. You know who Dak Prescott is? He's the guy who's got the cover story on the magazine in the airplane. That's where his level of popularity is. That's not a joke. I read a cover story about Dak Prescott on a plane last week.
I think that's a good way to also, because typically I'm not interested at all in the cover story.
That's what I'm saying. And like this dude, I was like, Dak Prescott's on the cover of this magazine in an airplane? I'll read this. It was a hilarious story about Dak at a golf course where he was eating in a broom closet because he's so popular at whatever country club this is near where he lives.
It's an interesting juxtaposition, his pro career and what came before that, because you could argue his story is fascinating, tragic, and he's overcome so much. And there were question marks about his maturity going into that draft. Ezekiel Elliott had those questions, but he was such an unbelievable talent, and there weren't questions as to whether or not it would work in the pros. But Dak had those questions about his maturity too, and he's sort of transitioning into boring quarterback.
Yeah. He is full-fledged boring dude, which you need. The last thing the Cowboys need is a Johnny Manziel type out here at quarterback when they've got Zeke dealing with what he's dealing with in the backfield. The story was hilarious, though, Mike. Literally eating in a broom closet some salad with a reporter because people were hounding him so much at some pro-am at a country club or something. Can you imagine that hulking man sitting in a side closet eating salad?
Does he give off hulking? I don't think he gives off hulking. I guess it's because he's behind that offensive line. He doesn't give off hulking.
He's a pretty big dude. Let's hear what he had to say about his mentality, or Zeke's mentality during the suspension.
He's good. He's been positive energy. I mean, it's something that's done. As I said, I can't do anything. He can't do anything. It's done. I'm sure they'll appeal, and that's kind of out of his hands as well there. So, I mean, he's been positive spirit, been the same Zeke, and that's good for him. It's good for this team.
Is him being the same Zeke good for him or good for the team? Is that true? Do we believe that?
I don't believe it is. They are really close, though. If you pay attention to social media, they go out together. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I guess it's a good influence for Zeke if Dak's out there, because Dak gives all appearances that he's matured.
Do you like Dak?
I do like Dak. I like Dak's story. I like what Dak's done on the field. I think he's actually a really exciting player. I'm hoping for progression in year two I imagine they're going to put the ball in his hands more now, especially with the suspension. I do like Dak.
I like Dak too. I'm a fan of the Washington football team, but I like Dak. I'm also a grown man, so I don't get caught up in these rivalries the same way. I don't want to see them win, but I like the individual players every once in a while. Dak's a good story. For those of you who don't know, absent dad, his mom passed. He was really close with her. He used to drive back and forth from Texas A&M to where they lived, hours at a time. It's a really good story if you've never really looked back at what Dak's done.
Ooh, Texas A&M. Did you get confused by the school colors?
Did I? What did I say?
You said Texas A&M. He went to Mississippi State.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, school colors. Botched it. Sorry.
Remember they played in a bowl game one year, and Mississippi State, that's when they reintroduced the white helmets because they looked too much alike.
I also might have said that because I was talking about Johnny Manziel earlier, but I also might have just thought that and never really cared. Oh, well.
They're both in the SEC now. Maybe that's what you were doing.
Yeah, or maybe I just didn't know. Entirely possible. I like Dak Prescott, though.
See, burgundy uniform. I mean, it's a 50-50 chance, really. If you throw out
if I was looking at a screen from far away, I have terrible vision anyway, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between those two squads.
A&M ruined things by also using white helmets.
Okay. Well, now I feel stupid. But, as some of you tell me on Twitter, I am stupid. Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan Le Batard.
Cash more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Dan Le Batard.
There is a consensus. You guys hate us.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for that.
Stugotz.
Yep, there is no debating that. You don't like us.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Customers who switch to Progressive save an average of $500. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And now for your SportsCenter update. Marlins slugger Giancarlo Stanton homered in the third inning of Miami's 9-4 loss to the Giants on Tuesday night to give him a major league leading 44 bombs this season. Stanton, who finished with 2 hits, 2 runs, and a walk, has homered in 6 consecutive games. He's 2 straight games away from the major league record held by Ken Griffey Jr., Don Mattingly, and Dale Long. On to football, Lucky Whitehead's strange summer took an unfortunate turn on Tuesday when it was announced by the New York Jets that he will be out indefinitely with a broken left foot. Whitehead's offseason included his dog being held for ransom and him being mistakenly identified in a shoplifting incident that led to him being released by the Dallas Cowboys. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. Joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, Bachelor and Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise enthusiast, as well as host of Weekend's Observations, as well as First and Last, Mike Golic Jr. Hey, Gojo.
What's going on, Glenn? How you doing, man?
I'm okay. I'm a little under the weather, and my voice sounds terrible because I've done 2 weeks of fill-in shows from 3 different cities in the last 2 weeks, and I don't sound great. So that's why you're getting scratchy Yates today, as opposed to my normal, earthy, voicey, urban sprawl. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's kind of why I dealt with Christian for a little bit this weekend when I was jumping out with you guys on the morning roast. I know New Orleans was one of the cities involved, so listen, that can hit a little harder than some. So just you being here today is an act of God.
I appreciate that, Mike. So let me ask you first off, how did the fantasy football marathon go? Tell me a little bit about the back. I know you've done this before, but how was this year's edition for you personally?
A lot more well-organized. I think it's going to be no shock to anyone that me and Stugotz doing it together last year was about as unorganized and as thrown together randomly as anything anyone can do. And so this time around, it was me and Sarah Spain in the back. And, they had, as far as our portion on Fantasy Island, they had a storyboard done up. They had everything laid out for us when we got there. We had plenty of space. We had a couple of cots to lay on. ESPN, as they usually do, once something goes well once, even if it's kind of by accident, they just throw all their weight behind it, and they're like, all right, we're going to push this thing to the max. And so it made it interesting. I was in a dunk tank this year. They had, carnival games set up in the cafeteria. It was an interesting production, but I guess we hit all the numbers that we wanted to as far as teams drafted in it, and it was successful on their end. I got to sit in a room and eat snacks and watch Bachelor in Paradise, so that was good for me.
Speaking of, I did not watch last night because it was a long day in America, so I just sort of checked out for a little self-care. But I did watch on Monday. You know that we also had Waboom on Monday, or yesterday, right?
No.
Oh, Waboom came on. And Mike Ryan, please tell America or Gojo how Waboom went.
He's spacey, man.
That is probably the least surprising thing ever.
Yeah, but this dude was a real space cadet. I've never really quite had an experience getting someone just on the phone and prepared for an interview. I couldn't get his attention to save my own life.
It was very strange. And the best part about it is that he ranted for 5 minutes at one time, and he said, "Waboomin' since the womb," which was the only funny thing he said. And I probably left him in for a batter or two too long, if you will. But we did have him on. It was very, very sobering experience.
An underrated part of the interview was how he said he was already prepared for celebrity because coming into it, he was already kind of a celebrity. I kind of feel like we let him get away with that. We should have pressed him on that. What did he mean?
Probably true.
Because he was an extra?
What exactly prepared him for celebrity earlier on in this life? I don't know how that got let pass by.
It was not clear, but did I miss anything major last night in terms of what transpired on Paradise?
No, last night, and I'm going to have to go back and watch it again because we're in the middle of the fantasy celebrity draft on our end, which, by the way, Jordan Rodgers and JoJo Fletcher were in the celebrity draft. Got to meet JoJo. She is lovely in person.
Really?
Very down to earth.
Rewind.
Wonderful. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How did that go?
It went really well. So I had met Jordan before down in at the old Charlotte office where ESPNU was last fall. And so I was walking up into the caf area, grabbing something to eat, and I saw them in there getting ready for the celebrity draft. So I went over, said hi to Jordan, and then, met JoJo right after, really my reason for going in there. And couldn't have gone better. They were awesome. They live down in Dallas now. I could hear Jordan dropping some subtle hints in there about maybe making their way up to Connecticut, obviously pursuing this as more of a career opportunity. So I stopped short of throwing out my best friend services for them just yet if they were to move up here, but I want to make sure that that's at least out in the universe.
Mike Golic Jr. joining us here on the Dan Le Batard Show. I'm Clinton Yates. Let me ask you, you played college ball, and the situation, and not to get too far into it, the situation down at UVA is obviously a very unique one. Bronco Mendenhall talked a lot about things that bring teams together. I know that you didn't, there's no playbook for having something like that happen, not in South Bend, not really anywhere, but can you tell me a little bit about an experience of having something that bonded a team that you didn't expect going into a camp or something like that? Did you ever have something like that with the Irish?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we certainly weren't any stranger to jarring instances of tragedy. I mean, during my time at Notre Dame, obviously one of the things that happened in a completely different vein was us losing Declan Sullivan in that tragic accident in practice. We had Xavier, one of our former student managers, we lost him to leukemia during our time as a team. And it's those moments where you kind of take stock of the group around you and realize, you lost someone that was really close to you, someone that was very much in there with you guys every day. And it makes you look at each other and sort of take stock again of all of those relationships that maybe you take for granted in the day-to-day in college football. And maybe through the daily grind of just going to practice and trying to get through class and all these things that get brought up in student-athlete life, you forget that the most important thing are the guys that you're doing with every day. I mean, college football is unique because in a lot of instances, these guys end up being your best friends for the rest of your life. They're the guys you stand up at weddings with, and you never try and lose sight of that, and it shouldn't take something like that kind of tragedy, like that kind of loss, but we know just human nature, that's kind of when you look around and take stock of that. And so it made us all just a little more cognizant of, all right, let's go out there with that purpose today of understanding we get this unique opportunity to just be with each other and do something that we all really love to do. And at a very base level, like that's what it should always be about, but we know there's so many other things that get in the way.
Mike Golic Jr. joins us. All right, so tell me about your fantasy football strategy going into this season. I'm sort of a weak player. I'm a bit of a draft killer because I like picking people I like for no real reason early just so that I can have them. I assume you're a little bit more diligent than that. Who you got on your eye? Who do you want specifically versus what is your strategy going into it?
Yeah, you see, I'm kind of like you, Clinton, and that I have to balance the things that are near to me because I always end up, maybe it's because I think they're going to give me some sort of added advantage because I know them and so I'll hear stuff during the week, but I end up picking a lot of Notre Dame guys. Like I picked Kyle Rudolph last year, which actually worked out well because he got a ton of red zone targets, had one of his best statistical seasons. Theo Riddick's been near the top of, receiving options for running backs in the last couple of seasons as well. So it's not like they haven't paid off for me, but I got to watch the line on that one. So, I could push a couple of those guys. But for me, I looked at a lot of people talked about the rookie running backs this year, and I get McCaffrey and Fournette are going to be the headliners. Fournette was the one I heard a lot about during the marathon, but Dalvin Cook's the name that just keeps coming back to mind for me. And I know it's preseason games, but watching him out there and the way he performed around kind of a revamped and I think philosophically different Vikings offense, that's intriguing for me. So he's probably a guy that, he won't be up near the top. We know running backs are going to go early in this draft, but he's a guy in those middle rounds I would definitely like to target. I think there's an interesting chance for development as the season goes along for him.
The last thing I'll ask you, Gojo, getting back to college football, you brought him up. Are the Irish going to be any good this year?
I think so, man. I mean, I'm worried about the D-line. We're a little bit thin there, but it's a new defense. We brought in the D coordinator from Wake Forest, and they almost doubled up our sack total last year. So you have to imagine that's going to get better just because, listen, no disrespect to Wake Forest, but I'd hope we're pulling in some better athletes in South Bend that they are on their end of things. And then on offense, you bring in back an experienced offensive line, ton of huge receivers. Like, they've got some really big bodies. Alize Jones at tight end is going to be back for them this year. And then Brandon Wimbush, the quarterback, it's all going to rely on him. But, talking to him, being around him, really good kid. He's been pushing guys for a long time now. I get the schedule woes. Georgia in week 2, going to be kind of a bear. But I think we got good things coming. They're unveiling the Jumbotron week 1 in South Bend. Things are turning around for Notre Dame this year.
He's Mike Golic Jr. You can hear him on Weekend Observations and First and Last. Thanks, Gojo.
Yep, thank you, Clinton. Take it easy, man.
No problem. I must say, outside of the little situation that we discussed yesterday, Mike, I really did enjoy the fantasy football marathon.
Me too.
It was good. Like, we talked about it a little bit yesterday before we got into sort of the controversial part, but as a matter of course, I am all here for loosey-goosey television. I liked it. I'm glad to hear that Gojo liked it as well. Glad he was involved. I wonder what Sarah Spain thinks. We should get her on, Mike, to have her talk about what it was like to be part of that operation.
I will reach out. She may still be sleeping. I was just reading this story, and it started a debate here in the shipping container. Have you seen these pictures of the new Falcons Stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium? It looks amazing, truly world class. But you're learning all these details about it, and apparently the Falcons' new stadium has a Chick-fil-A inside of it.
Really?
Yes. But as you know, most football games are on which day, Clinton?
Sunday, going fishing.
So that means the Chick-fil-A that's inside the football stadium will not be open on most Falcons game days.
What? Why would they do that?
Chick-fil-A is not open since it started, I think, in the 40s. It has not.
Why would they put it in the stadium?
I'm not entirely sure because their corporate headquarters are in Atlanta. There is a Chick-fil-A Bowl that goes down in that stadium. So there are going to be several game days, both college football and, the Falcons will host some Monday nighters and Thursday nighters. But for most of the Falcons games, home games that season, you will not be able to enjoy Chick-fil-A.
If you ever want to hear a funny story about Chick-fil-A, ask Dominique Foxworth about the time they played in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in on the Dan Le Batard Show.
Dan Le Batard.
Nobody in my life has as many unlikable traits who I still like as Stugotz.
Stugotz.
Would you have taken the pay cut?
No. Pay cut. Please. The hell are you talking to?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Had a little discussion about what's going on in the Falcons' new stadium. The what is it called? The Mercedes-Benz Arena?
I think Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Stadium? Okay.
Yeah.
They got a Chick-fil-A in
sense.
there. They got a Chick-fil-A in there, but obviously football games are on Sundays, and Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. However, Zaxby's is the official chicken sponsor of the Falcons or of the stadium.
Of the Falcons. However, there are no Zaxby's inside the stadium, only Chick-fil-A's.
There are Zaxby's everywhere in Atlanta. Understand that. But I said before the segment ended that I thought Chick-fil-A was a little overrated. Because Chick-fil-A is a little overrated.
Disagree.
What is so... No, this is an honest question. What to you is so great about Chick-fil-A?
The Polynesian sauce, for one. The biscuits with the chicken just melt in your mouth. Life hack, you just dip the biscuits and chicken into the Polynesian sauce. So it's an unbelievable breakfast. The fried... the breading on the fried chicken, it's almost pickled in a sense. It's so great. And the waffle fries, which, again, you dip into the Polynesian sauce.
I'm a barbecue guy. The waffle fries are the best part for me. There are...
It's when it comes to fried filet, it's called Chick-fil-A.
When it comes to chicken sandwiches at fast food joints, which is a separate discussion from my favorite fried chicken places, which we'll get to in a second.
Yes, a totally different category. Fried chicken sandwiches, I think Wendy's...
Spicy, number one seed, nothing else even compares.
My dude.
Not even remotely close. And that's why I don't understand all the hype over Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, it's very good. It's very good. I don't know if you caught my whole bit about the Polynesian sauce.
Yeah, I heard. I'm heard. I'm not actually familiar with the Polynesian sauce.
What? You cannot be talking about Chick-fil-A. You are not equipped for this discussion.
Not the chicken, it's the sauce.
No, I told you the breading on the fried chicken. It's almost dill pickle flavored. It's very good, very good. But you combine that, with the Polynesian sauce.
I need to know the shipping
container thoughts on this. It's a whole new world full of wonderment.
I need to know the shipping container's thoughts on this. The best part about Chick-fil-A.
Well, you've outraged Fat Chris.
Yeah. I want to hear what he has to say.
Everything about Chick-fil-A is phenomenal. Their sandwiches are great. I do agree with you about the Wendy's chicken sandwich, but the Chick-fil-A one's right up there. And like everything Mike said's right. The fries, the sauce, it's just I want to go there right now.
It never ceases to amaze me the lengths people go to get Chick-fil-A. They have food trucks here in D.C., and in downtown D.C., Chick-fil-A will show up and people will line around the block for a sandwich off a truck. There will be 40 other trucks within a 10-block radius. And people are so dedicated to Chick-fil-A. They got the best marketing team in America. It's unbelievable.
Eat more chicken?
Eat more chicken. The story that Dominic Foxworth used to tell about the Chick-fil-A Bowl is that when they went to the bowl, they get meals provided by the sponsor. And on the first day, they were like, oh, wait, sweet, Chick-fil-A. But you're down there for a week. And after day 3 of only Chick-fil-A at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, not everybody thinks the same thing about Chick-fil-A.
Also, probably not the best way to prepare for a bowl game.
Absolutely. Not exactly the best nutrition. You're right. Zaxby's, though. Zaxby's is good fried chicken. But Zaxby's is good local fried chicken. Myself,
I've never been to Zaxby's. There are 0 Zaxby's in Miami. There are some in the northern parts in like Broward, but I've never enjoyed a Zaxby's.
What's the go-to shipping container fried chicken of choice?
We don't have many fried chicken joints in Miami. Honestly, if you want quick fried chicken, you'd have to go to KFC or Popeyes. There aren't many fried chicken joints. I think Yardbird, a restaurant in Lincoln Road, and I think they also have another restaurant out in Vegas. That, to me, is the best fried chicken I've ever had, and they have a sort of bistro on US 1, which is a sort of quicker serve, and it's almost the same exact chicken, and that's called spring chicken, and that's very good.
You're getting fried chicken from a bistro?
Yeah, bougie.
A bistro?
Have you guys ever had Hattie B's fried chicken in New Orleans?
No. I have not. I was just in New Orleans. I did not eat any fried chicken when I was in New Orleans, which I just realized was a major life fail.
It was recommended to me, and it is phenomenal.
Myself, my top 3, Church's, number 3.
Really? I wouldn't have Church's. We had a Church's right next to our old studio. It became something else. I think it became a Pleasure Emporium. Yeah. But it wasn't. It wouldn't be in my top 3.
Number 2, Popeyes.
Agreed. For sure. Well, wait, Popeyes would be my number 1, but I'm not qualified because I haven't had several of the other places, but Popeyes is solid number 2 choice.
My number 1 favorite fried chicken joint in America, Bojangles.
Bojangles.
Bojangles rules the roost when it comes to fried chicken.
Don Le Batard.
Who at the network made Ryan Russillo this NBA expert? Hey, seriously. Jeez. Russillo's condescending attitude. Oh, you agree with Stugotz. Therefore, it can't be right. Get out of here, Russillo.
Stugotz.
How many threes did you hit in high school? Because I have the Long Island record for 6 threes and a half of a high school game. What did you do in high school? Did you even play basketball? I played the game.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Heading over to Yahoo Sports. We were talking earlier about Dak Prescott, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and he had some awfully flat soda things to say about Ezekiel Elliott. But today a story was published that offers sort of a different perspective on some things if you are of a certain mind, on how that investigation and situation unfolded regarding he and his ex-girlfriend. Now, I got a lot of bird brains in my mentions right now talking to me about how it just doesn't make sense to believe women when it comes to accusations of battery or sexual assault. Well, I do. Headline: Documents: Ezekiel Elliott's accuser admitted to talk of leveraging sex videos of herself and running back for money. Now, for those of you who run around on the internet, own websites, and publish stories that constantly harp on the notion of women trying to scam, I'm using air quotes here, athletes and celebrities out of money, this will be right in your wheelhouse. This is red meat to those of you toxic males who are about this concept. And in this particular case, number one, would be an aside anyway to the situation regarding the accusations of violence. But number two, look, for me, and I said this before this week, I have no problem in this circumstance of the NFL believing the accuser by default. Because in this country, the way the legal system is set up, what happens when someone accuses someone of something is that their reputations end up getting dragged through the mud. And whether or not something happened or not becomes almost a separate story because of how lawyers and judges and all sorts of people justify one thing or another when it comes to sexual assault or battery. They're not the same, and I'm not trying to conflate the two scenarios, but you get my point here. So don't come at me with this nonsense about, oh, just because a woman says something, that means it's true. Because that's not what this is about. It's about a larger notion of creating an environment in which victims do not feel safe coming forward because the burden of proof is incorrectly placed and unfairly set too high on the accuser. That being said, I think the NFL has handled this well. And I really, honestly, hope that they can stand by their decision from a suspension standpoint. Because I don't think there's anything that's going to happen in between now and then that is going to change the facts of the case. I mean, this investigation took, close to a year. They had all sorts of people on this independent panel. They laid it all out in a conference call. They had the report there. There's a lot of stuff. It's pretty transparent. So if you go back on the 6 games now, number one, the consistency thing comes back up, which is always there, and which people want to be more upset about than anything else for whatever reason. I don't even get that. But number two, it just looks like you didn't actually intend on making this a priority the way you said you did as a league. I'm more concerned about that than I am about consistency and penalties being doled out by the NFL. If you're going to take a stance and say, hey, it's a 6-gamer, make it a 6-gamer. I don't know what the appeal process is going to say. I don't even know what Zeke's appeal is going to be if they made this ruling based on believing her off the top anyway. But understand, in no uncertain terms, the burden of proof is different for the NFL than it is for a courtroom, and that's fine because it's their league. That's how that works. But if you want to get into the courtroom discussion, there are all sorts of other structural problems that need to be addressed about how women are treated in situations involving battery or sexual assault. They're separate discussions, but they're linked. Mike Ryan, do you think that the suspension is going to be reduced?
I do not.
I don't either. And I also think that this is going to be Goodell's like, I don't know that there's a loss there from a PR standpoint if he doesn't reduce it. You're going to be that guy really arguing that a guy accused of domestic battery should get less games based on consistency? That's you want to die on that hill? That's a whack hill to die on, bro. You're coming at me with this innocent until proven guilty stuff? Okay. But more often than not, people don't accuse people of random stuff like that because they don't want to expose themselves to the abuse that they have to take separately for simply bringing up the accusations. This is how this all works. And this is why things don't get reported, and this is why things continue in the way that they do in cases of abusers. I know you, guy, sitting on your couch watching football, assuming that every woman that encounters a professional athlete is somehow trying to steal his money, can't really sometimes put your head around that. But that's the reality in America, regardless of how much money you have or you don't. So this is sort of a larger thing than Ezekiel Elliott in my mind as I'm discussing to you. But as it applies to this case, I think the NFL's done the right thing here. They botched it hard with Ray Lewis. They botched it hard with homie from the Giants. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
Josh Brown?
Yeah.
You meant Ray Rice? I thought I heard Ray Lewis.
I said Ray Rice. Did I say Ray Lewis? I said Ray Rice. I meant Ray Rice and then Josh Brown. Like, those two situations were not good. I don't need the NFL to get caught up in me arguing about what those mistakes were for me to believe that they can do right or at least do a better job going forward. And what I saw from the league, for me, was enough going forward to make me believe that 6 games makes sense. How that affects the Cowboys, we'll see. But yeah, you want to set a precedent or you want to start enforcing something, it's a fine place by me. Don't be the guy that dies on the hill saying that all women are liars until proven otherwise. It's not a good look, dude. Not remotely. I'm Clint Yates. It's the Dan Le Batard Show.
You want more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz? Tune in starting at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNU.
Dan Le Batard.
Called common sense reporting, Dan. Connect the dots.
Stugotz.
I would not describe your sense as common.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And now, your Sports Center update. Former Dolphins cornerback Dimitri Patterson injured 2 police officers while trying to abruptly exit a Miami-Dade courthouse and avoid being arrested, according to local police. Both officers are fine, Miami-Dade police confirmed. When the judge ordered his arrest, Patterson attempted to bolt the courtroom and tackled 2 officers, police said. He could face additional charges and remains in custody. Staying on the gridiron, the Detroit Lions say they detest and disavow any use of their logo associated with the event last Saturday in Charlottesville, Virginia. A photo showed someone with a logo similar to the one the Lions use, although it was blue and red and had stars on it. The Detroit Red Wings already said they were considering legal action considering the use of their logo during the demonstration. The Sports Center is brought to you by JCPenney. Guys, get to JCPenney today for Levi's lowest prices of the season. Find select styles like Levi's 514 straight fit for $39.99 and 511 slim fit for $41.99. Deals like this won't last long. That's getting your penny's worth. JCPenney. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. Charlottesville, Virginia is obviously a topic at hand in America. Not just in the politics and news world, but also in the sports world. The situation has affected various people, understandably. It's very specifically affected football squads as well. But we got to point something out here. And, you know, we sort of dabble in this a lot, and I think there's sort of people of two minds. And we sort of make fun of these people who say stick to sports bit. But I got to say, if you're still operating in 2017 on the stick to sports bit, you just do not understand this nation. Sorry. I know that might seem like a broad brush indictment, and I do understand why stick to sports is something people feel. But if the dudes and the women playing the actual games, the sports that you want us to stick to, are not doing it themselves, well, then you can't expect anybody that's covering the leagues or the players to do so either. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't add up. Like, never mind the intellectual discussion of how foolhardy that is to act as if athletes are just robots in uniforms who do not have lives or opinions outside of their field work. Like, never mind the fact that that's idiotic. If they're the ones talking about it and we're the ones covering it, we're going to have to talk about what they're talking about. That's how that works. So when a LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, D. Wade, and Chris Paul get up on stage at the ESPYs and make a statement like that, and it's about police brutality in this country, at that point, that is sticking to sports. Does that make a little more sense for y'all? Speaking of, LeBron James was at a charity event recently, and he talked about the situation regarding Charlottesville, Virginia.
I have this platform, and I'm somebody that has a voice of command, and the only way for us to be able to get better as a society and us to get better as people is love, and that's the only way we're going to be able to conquer something at the end of the day. It's not about the guy that's the so-called president of the United States or whatever the case. It's not about a teacher that you don't feel like care about what's going on with you every day. It's not about people that you just don't feel like that's want to give the best energy and effort to you. It's about us. It's about us looking in the mirror. Kids all the way up to the adults, about all of us looking in the mirror and saying, what can we do better to help change?
LeBron James is doing his best to make a difference. LeBron James knows people pay attention to what he says. And LeBron James knows that ultimately his message has to be one of positivity, even if frank reality. But understand that if you're the kind of person that can just separate every single thing going on in this country from what you look at on the field, well, you're pretty lucky. Because that ain't the case for most folks. For most people, they are precisely intertwined. Because at the end of the day, when a lot of those people you love watching with helmets on their heads, gloves on their hands, or sticks and skates on as well, when they leave that job, they got to go be people in this world and in this country. And at that point, their lives intersect with all of ours as well. And to stick your head in the sand and act as if the things that happen outside those lines don't matter, I mean, come on. We're smarter than that. We're all smarter than that as people. And that's a good thing. Because those athletes that so many young kids grow up watching, they don't just have a platform. They've got a space into the mind of a young person that is one of influence. And because standing aside and letting people do things that are harmful to others is a big part of what happens in America, if those athletes can teach the youth of America, shout out to POD, that standing aside while this nonsense goes on is not the move, well, then it is ultimately a good thing, again, that the athletes did not stick to sports. The goal here is a better society. The goal here is not making you comfortable. In Charlottesville, Virginia, home of the University of Virginia, where the Virginia Cavaliers play football, and Bronco Mendenhall is the head coach, they had to end a meet and greet because of that rally a rally at which someone died. You trying to tell me to stick to sports? You got kids out there trying to meet their heroes. And they can't do that. They can't do that because of what we've all seen on our TV for the past 4 days. But nonetheless, that team's got to still play the football games. Because those dudes are committed to that. That's what they're there for. Diversity is a big part of what this team is doing, according to head coach Bronco Mendenhall.
Our message is one of consistency, unity, embracing diversity, and being together and respecting one another for differences, not separating because of differences.
The Virginia Cavaliers, in my opinion, are one of the more interesting stories of the college football season at this point, for said reason of sticking to sports, which you might consider not sticking to sports. That campus was ground zero for one of the most inflammatory political situations I've seen in my life. If you think that's not going to affect that football team, you're living in a fantasy world. He says, Bronco Mendenhall, that is, he says their team stands together.
They stand together, and they stand united, embracing, in Micah Kaiser's words, the differences, and respecting the differences and valuing the differences.
You heard Chris Long talk about what it was like growing up in Charlottesville. LeBron's discussed it. They've discussed it in college football. And you're telling me to stick to sports? Those are sports, famo. Here's Bronco Mendenhall talking about the impact of the situation on fans.
I was expecting more concern, but most of them are realizing that this is happening predominantly from people coming into our city and then leaving that won't necessarily be their neighbors and won't necessarily be their fans. I've had no recruits that have said, I'm no longer coming. I've had no parent that said I'm no longer coming. All we've had is appreciation for what we're doing.
That's good. Because it's not an indictment necessarily on Charlottesville itself, what happened at that location. But understand the grounds that we're on there. It's the University of Virginia. It's Charlottesville, Virginia. Confederate statues. Once there. School started by a founding father. Who owned slaves? Thomas Jefferson. So when you put it all together, about how everybody got to where they are and what everyone's doing and the efforts Bronco Mendenhall is trying to make sure that his football team can win football games on that campus that you've seen on TV and in that town, it is sticking to sports, which is the whole point. I'm Clinton Yates, the Dan Le Batard Show. But first, a word from Advance Auto Parts. At Advance Auto Parts, they know how much your car means to you. That's why they have helpful, friendly experts that can help you keep your car running smoothly. Knowledgeable team members that can answer any questions you may have about your car. Whether you need new windshield wipers, want to install a new air filter, or need to change your oil, they have everything you need. There's an Advance Auto Parts store near you. Talk to the knowledgeable team members at your local Advance Auto Parts store. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road. It's America. It's 2017. It's how we're living. I'm Clinton Yates, the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Dan Le Batard. What was the saying that Tyrann Mathieu said? Honey Badger don't care?
Matthew.
That happens with age, man. That's exactly what just happened to me. I made Walter Matthau a cornerback for the Arizona Cardinals.
Stugotz.
Is he still with us?
No.
Yeah. That is a hole in the Cardinals secondary. They have got somebody who's been dead for 16 years back there. It's like having Antonio Cromartie.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. And guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And now, your Sports Center update. Former Dolphins cornerback Demetri Patterson injured two police officers while trying to abruptly exit a Miami-Dade courthouse and avoid being arrested, according to local police. Both officers are fine, Miami-Dade police confirmed. When the judge ordered his arrest, Patterson attempted to bolt the courtroom and tackled two officers, police said. He could face additional charges and remains in custody. Staying on the gridiron, sort of. The Detroit Lions say they detest and disavow any use of their logo associated with the event last Saturday in Charlottesville, Virginia. A photo showed someone with a logo similar to the one the Lions use, although it was blue and red and had stars on it. The Detroit Red Wings already said they were considering legal action regarding the use of their logo during the demonstration. For all the latest headlines and information, tune the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day. Joining us right now is Pablo Torre, senior writer of ESPN The Mac and ESPN.com. You see him all the time on PTI and Around the Horn. Pablo, do you like POD?
Wow. I grew up in the era of Total Request Live, and I feel like POD snuck in at the end, right? Is that where we are?
Why do you call it Total Request Live?
Because that is the official government name of a program that shaped my pubescence.
Are you the feds, Pablo? Everybody calls it TRL. No, we were talking about POD earlier in the show, and we were talking about like sneaky Christian bands that moved into the mainstream. And I can't remember the other two. Was Shinedown the other one, Mike?
Switchfoot.
Switchfoot.
So, Pablo, was that an answer? Are you a fan of Payable on Death, or are you not?
My question was going to be, what does POD stand for? I would not have guessed Payable on Death. And is that a Christian allusion? Is that the story of that acronym?
I believe. I'm not even sure that's the acronym. I went to a Christian high school, and I'm pretty sure everybody was talking about Payable on Death. Maybe it's something a lot softer than that.
Hold on. You went to a Christian high school?
I went to Florida Christian. 2004 state champs.
Wait, so by the way, does every high school that has the name Christian in it qualify as a Christian high school? I feel like there's a genre of schools that have Christian in the name, and I've never assumed them to be religious.
I mean, let me tell you something. We put the public schools to shame in terms of just morality, and not in a good way. Way worse.
I mean, I attended an all-boys Catholic school, and I don't even know if I would necessarily call its graduates Christians.
So, Pablo, let me ask you about this University of Virginia situation.
Well, also, answer the question. Are you a POD fan?
I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no because that one song that goes, we are, that's about the extent of my knowledge.
It is a bit grating, but come on, Alive. And you seem to me like a Matrix Reloaded fan.
Alive! Yep, okay, I know that one.
Do you remember their hit, Sleeping Awake from the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack?
Oh, come on, dude. They're what I call a two-hit wonder. That's what they are.
No, Rock the Party, Southtown, they had bangers.
I once tried to illegally download The Matrix Reloaded in college. I believe this was in 2004, 2003? No. Does that make sense? Is that when The Matrix Reloaded came out?
Matrix Reloaded, I feel, came out when we were in high school, so I feel like you got we're about the same age.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, this is when LimeWire existed.
Yes,
and so
the best way to give your computer AIDS.
Well, so what happened was I was trying to download, or my roommate was trying to download The Matrix Reloaded on LimeWire.
Ah, your roommate, the old
on our
roommate.
behalf.
Yeah, my roommate downloaded Signs, too.
That's right.
Go after him, M. Night.
But what had happened was, the Matrix Reloaded turned out to be 2 hours of black and white Dutch pornography.
Right. So
because you don't know. You don't know until the file is complete.
You didn't know. Maybe it snuck in there in minute 75, so you had to watch the whole thing.
They were reloading different things.
Speaking of college, I'm very interested in what you think about this Virginia situation. That team is in a weird spot. Charlottesville is in a very tough place.
Right. I feel like their defense is real lackluster.
I know. Big holes in the corner.
Yes. What is UVA's football team good?
No.
Okay.
I think they won 2 games last year.
Thus concludes my analysis of the UVA football team.
All right. What would you like to talk about then, Bob?
How about
POD?
How about we continue this POD conversation?
I actually want to talk to you about fried chicken because we had a long discussion about fried chicken.
Oh, talking about the Atlanta Falcons whole deal.
Yeah, did you see that?
I just saw it on the way in, and I will say Chick-fil-A is particularly salient in my mind because it is a brand where I know they stand for some repugnant things, but I have people with clean consciences, gay friends of mine, who say Chick-fil-A is so delicious that they just can't stop eating it. And that is in complete recognition of how repugnant all of their beliefs may be. It's just that they're so damn good at the fried chicken thing.
Chick-fil-A is overrated, Pablo.
Wow.
Don't listen to him. He hasn't tried Polynesian sauce.
Chris Cody is standing up in the background, waving his arms angrily.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's overrated.
I mean, I have enjoyed Chick-fil-A at the Atlanta airport, and I disagree. Chick-fil-A is delicious.
It's not quite
properly rated.
Repugnant, but properly rated.
It's not quite Mina Kimes' trash palate, but it is overrated. What's your favorite fried chicken, Pablo?
So where are we on?
Probably some speakeasy in Brooklyn.
How dare you? So just the point of genre clarification.
Roof speakeasy.
That's right.
With the overhead holiday lights.
That are all green. They're not white. They're green.
All green.
You guys are describing a fantastic Friday night in Williamsburg. Buffalo wings falls under the category of fried chicken. Where can someone explain to me?
No, absolutely not. In fact, fried chicken sandwich does not fall into the fried chicken category.
Well, here's why I ask is that
taxonomy situation is all jacked up.
Well, let's get into this because I have been staying at a very nice hotel in Miami. I ordered wings last night, and the sauce was delivered on the side. So I got fried chicken wings and like some drumstick stuff and then some sauce on the side, like buffalo sauce. And it was fine, but I feel like that's a misleading advertisement on the old hotel room menu.
Did you order buffalo wings or did you order wings?
I attempted to order buffalo wings. My favorite thing to order, by the way, room service-wise, at any hotel, because I am a Filipino-American and this is how I do things, is to go and order buffalo wings with a side of white rice and just go to town.
Is that like a delicacy that I don't know about?
Is that weird?
I've never heard of it.
Buffalo wings, the white rice.
It's weird. This is a
blue cheese
thing. Blue cheese is really throwing off this whole Filipino thing. I don't think of blue cheese as a Filipino accent.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if the rotting and fungus growing nature of blue cheese has necessarily thrived in the subtropical climes of the Philippines. But white rice plus anything is a very Filipino thing, and Filipinos love their fried foods.
I was reading a story about how the Women's College World Series, the Little League Softball World Series, the Filipino
Not close.
The Filipino team.
We're not necessarily talking a fried chicken sandwich versus fried chicken.
They did not have enough rice, and it was affecting their energy levels, and it was like a large complaint of the team. Yeah. Now you're interested.
I am interested.
This was the whole point. They're playing this tournament in Oregon, and there's a team from the Philippines. It's the Little League Softball World Series, and the rice factor was a major issue.
The rice factor is always a major issue in the Filipino household, but I thought you were going to bring up the fact that back in, I believe, the mid-'90s, a Filipino Little League team won the Little League World Series. They beat the Sean Burroughs Little League team, the future San Diego Padres third baseman. He was quite fat. Awesome Little League player. What had happened there was, as I had clipped out a New York Times article proclaiming this headline, Filipino Little League World Series team wins World Series, was that, they were all like 17. And so that title was summarily stripped from the Philippines.
You can strip it from your heart.
Yeah, it was in fact heartbreaking. It was traumatic as a young sports fan, and this was the only real foothold I had in American sports culture.
Who's the best Filipino baseball player of all time?
Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was born in the Philippines. Tim Tebow was born in the Philippines, and I'm not lying to you. Tim Tebow, as you guys...
Tebow sucks at baseball.
I mean...
There has to be someone better at baseball. He's going to get called up. I know it was an opportunity for you to flash your Tim Tebow knowledge bone.
Before I talk about Tim Tebow circumcising Filipino babies every summer as part of his missionary work, which is a lot. I'll go with Benny Agbayani, I guess.
There we go. That's what we're
like. I think he's Hawaiian, but I think we claim him by virtue of the Pacific Islander adjacency rules around heritage. So, yeah, Benny Agbayani. Also, wait a minute, hold on. Tim Lincecum, half Filipino.
Okay,
Just
so
remember that.
It counts. Tim
The
Lincecum's the best.
half of the freak. It's pretty good.
All right, you coming back next segment, Pablo?
I mean, I have more Filipino baseball players, so I hope so.
Cool.
Dan Le Batard.
Good work today. That was a fun show.
Stugotz.
It was also intergalactically stupid.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Dan Le Batard Show. Pablo Torre joining us. Clinton Yates filling in. Update on the Chick-fil-A situation, y'all. You guys are overlooking other tenants of the Mercedes-Benz building. Any guesses?
Chick-fil-A Bowl. MLS team.
Bingo, bango, kiddos. Atlanta United FC. You know soccer fans love chicken.
Their soccer culture in Atlanta is fantastic, by the way.
Oh, yeah? You're familiar with that?
Well, it just started this year, and they're moving. I don't know if they've already made the move, but the scene at Bobby Dodd was incredible.
Whoa. Hold up. I have breaking news. Noah Bernardo is the drummer and a founding member of POD, a San Diego-based band. According to an FAQ, he is Filipino.
Did he confirm that the acronym stands for payable on death?
More important piece of information.
Wikipedia also seems to confirm that, yes. Sorry to interrupt.
Sweet. Synergy.
You're telling me you've been to a game at Bobby Dodd?
Have I? No, but I've seen it on TV, and the Atlanta United FC supporters, it looks like a crazy party. I was envious. I wanted to go to that.
How many MLS games have you been to in your whole life?
MLS games? Well, the Miami Fusion no longer exists. I think I went to one, and the Miami Fusion played at Fort Lauderdale. I did go recently to a U.S. Open Cup game in which Miami FC, a lower division team, beat Atlanta United, an MLS team, and that was at Ricardo Silva Stadium over at FIU, a school that many call home.
Mike Ryan.
Mike gestured around the room as he said many call home, and I feel like people should be aware of that.
Yeah, I think 3 of the 4 male containers went to FIU, yes? Yes, and Fat Chrissy went to FAU, rival. He's an owl.
The Owls? Isn't that the school where, what's his name? Lane Kiffin is now?
That's the one. Yeah, very exciting. Butch is at FIU, Lane's at FAU, huge Shula Bowl this year.
Yeah. That's a celebrity boxing match I would watch. Who do you think wins that?
Are you talking about the game or the boxing match between the two head coaches?
The boxing match. Shula and
Butch,
Kiffin. Or
Butch
Davis and Kiffin.
Kiffin.
Butch on both counts. Butch. 3 out of 4 say Butch.
Yeah.
Butch has an old man strength factor, but I think Kiffin will probably have better technique.
I feel like Lane will cheat.
Yeah. You will send out another person who he says is Lane Kiffin, only to realize that their jerseys are actually switched, and he is sitting safely away.
What's the last MLS game you went to, Pablo?
Oh, man, that would be in the year 2000 and never.
You've never been to an MLS game. You got him.
Oh,
you were setting him up?
I don't know if I have been. I don't remember, and so I feel like the answer is probably no.
That's
I don't know. Was this Clinton just asking us so he wanted to volunteer when the last time
wait, hold on. Clinton.
When was the last time
you went to an MLS game?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I can't even remember.
Oh, so it wasn't. Why press?
What was this?
Why are we inside of this maze?
Because I wanted to hear about Pablo's hipster MLS squad. If you're out here eating on these roof decks at your speakeasies, I figured you had some side squad that you were a huge fan of. Little sport in Kansas City.
That's fair. I did walk alongside various fans of the Portland Timbers.
Ah, there we are. Oh, you know what? That actually might have been the last game I went to. It was a Timbers game.
That seems pretty legit. I mean, they're you know, whatever. I'm going to stop talking because I feel like I'm just going to offend every soccer fan by brutalizing the name of the rivalry between the Seattle Sounders and the Portland Timbers, which is called
Cascadia Cup.
Sure. Is that
the last game I went to was a Portland Timbers game, and it was really fun because if you know this, Portland is so polite at some points that if you just go to to the stadium, and beforehand, at least on this one particular side, you just lay down your scarves and you can mark your seats and come back later. I was stunned that this actually worked. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like this in my life.
MLS is doing it right.
Portland also is a place where you can buy burritos inside of strip clubs.
Portland, doing it right.
You know that BET has a new show coming out with Young Jock hosting about strip clubs in Atlanta and their food and their chefs.
Oh, I did hear about this.
Damn, I missed my window. Because now I got to tie
window
in.
For what?
I got to tie in a strip club to the Philippines because I already had my MLS tie-in because I was going to bring it back to the Miami Fusion, and I saw Nick Raimondo, the goalkeeper, who is Filipino.
Wow.
Former DC United goaltender, too.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. He's now at Real Salt Lake.
He's been like on the depth chart, I feel, when I play FIFA and sometimes choose the United States of America.
Soccer's crazy like that because I could swear I remember sitting on my dad's lap watching Cesc Fabregas, Captain Arsenal, and I Wikipedia'd him, and he's younger than I am.
Did you order the burrito in the strip club?
His roommate did.
Yeah. Here's the thing. So the burrito place has a strip club in the back. It is one of those. It is a speakeasy strip club, I guess, to your larger point of me attending these establishments. So I got the burrito in the Mexican restaurant front and then went to the bathroom, but the bathrooms were located in the back through the strip club. And I noticed on the way to the bathroom that people were eating burritos inside of the strip club. You could just order it to your seat, like one of those movie theaters, I guess, where you can order food while watching Dunkirk.
You know who introduced me to that strip club, Mike?
Tell me it's a Filipino.
His roommate.
Oh, okay. If you would have said